After their rejection, your silence is hurting them. Have you ever been rejected, only to feel the sting of silence afterward? It's a silent pain, one that echoes in the heart long after the moment has passed. But what if I told you that your silence could be hurting not only you, but also the person who faced your rejection? Today we'll explore the power of our responses, how silence can unintentionally cause more harm than healing, and how we can transform rejection into an opportunity for growth, compassion, and emotional wisdom. Stay with me until the end, and let's discover how we can all live a life of deeper connection and happiness. Number 1. The nature of rejection. Rejection is an inevitable part of life, a natural consequence of our interactions with others. No matter how much we try to control the outcome, we will all face rejection in some form. Whether it's in relationships, work, or personal goals, the sting of rejection is universal. And while it's painful, it is also a powerful opportunity for growth. When we experience rejection, we often feel as though we've been personally dismissed. Our worth, our abilities, and our intentions might seem questioned, leaving us vulnerable to self-doubt. But here's the key. Rejection is not a reflection of your value or your potential. It is simply a sign that things were not aligned in that moment. People's actions, decisions, and preferences are influenced by their own experiences and circumstances. Rejection is often more about them than it is about you. What's important is how we respond to rejection. Will we allow it to defeat us, to cause us to question everything we've worked for? Or will we take it as a sign to learn, adapt, and move forward with renewed determination? The Stoic approach urges us to view rejection with a calm, rational mindset, understanding that we cannot control others' decisions, but we can always control how we respond. No rejection is final unless you allow it to be. Every no carries within it the seeds of a future yes, but only if you take the opportunity to learn, to improve, and to persist. Every great person you admire has faced rejection at some point in their life. What sets them apart is their ability to move past it with grace and focus on the bigger picture, a life full of happiness, success, and fulfillment. Rejection is simply part of the journey. Number 2. Silence as a response. In the face of rejection, many choose silence as their response. While silence can sometimes provide the necessary space to process emotions and regain composure, it can also be misinterpreted. In a world where communication is key to understanding, your silence after rejecting someone can send a powerful message. It might be seen as a cold, distant response, leaving the other person in a state of confusion or emotional pain. Silence, while seemingly harmless, can actually intensify the hurt caused by rejection. When we withdraw completely, without acknowledging the other person's feelings or providing closure, it can feel like we are punishing them for something beyond their control. We must understand that our silence, though born from self-preservation or discomfort, may cause the very pain we're trying to avoid. It leaves the other person with unresolved emotions, perhaps questioning their worth, their choices, or their value to us. This is where we, as individuals striving for a life of happiness and wisdom, must be mindful of the impact of our actions. True wisdom comes from understanding that the way we respond matters. While silence can be a tool for self-control and reflection, it's essential to recognize when it becomes an emotional barrier that further isolates the other person. The difference between silence that provides space and silence that leaves a void. We are all humans, with emotions and vulnerabilities. Silence, when wielded with intention, can be a moment of introspection, but when used without consideration, it can deepen the wounds of rejection and perpetuate feelings of isolation. Therefore, it's not simply about remaining silent. It's about recognizing when that silence may unintentionally harm the other person, and finding a more compassionate way to handle the situation. Number 3. The impact of silence. While silence may seem like a neutral response, its impact on the other person can be profound. When someone experiences rejection, they are already vulnerable, emotionally raw, and uncertain. If your response is silence, it leaves them in a limbo, unsure of where they stand. This lack of communication can have an emotional ripple effect, one that often spirals into confusion, self-doubt, and even deeper emotional pain. Think about it. When you face rejection, what you crave most is understanding, closure, or a clear path forward. Silence instead leaves you questioning what went wrong. It feeds the mind's natural tendency to imagine worst-case scenarios, to replay every moment, looking for clues you may have missed. And for the person on the receiving end of silence, those questions and doubts can become all-consuming. This is why it's important to recognize that silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of uncertainty. What may feel like a peaceful, non-confrontational choice for you can feel like abandonment or indifference to the other person. Instead of helping them move forward, it can keep them trapped in the rejection, unable to process or heal. As individuals striving for wisdom and happiness, we must learn to acknowledge the impact of our actions. Silence, though it can feel like a shield, can also be a source of ongoing pain. In our pursuit of a life filled with joy, we must also acknowledge the emotional well-being of those we interact with. When we fail to communicate, we often unintentionally extend the period of suffering for both ourselves and the other person. Moving forward, consider how silence, when left unchecked, can harm more than it helps. Number 4. The power of compassionate response. In moments of rejection, the way we choose to respond can determine the emotional outcome for both parties. Silence, while often an automatic response, is not always the most compassionate choice. Instead, responding with empathy, respect, and understanding has the power to not only heal, but also bring a sense of closure and dignity to the situation. A compassionate response doesn't require us to give false hope or make promises we can't keep. But it does require us to acknowledge the other person's feelings and show them that their worth is not defined by rejection. When we choose to respond with compassion, we're offering the other person something that silence can never provide, the opportunity to process their emotions with clarity. Whether it's simply acknowledging their pain with a kind word or offering a brief but sincere explanation, a compassionate response opens the door for healing. By showing understanding, you provide the other person with the space to accept the rejection and move on in a healthier, more balanced way. This approach not only benefits the person who has been rejected, but also benefits you as the one offering the response. Responding with kindness and respect aligns with a life of purpose and wisdom. It builds emotional strength, fosters mutual respect, and creates a sense of peace within ourselves. The Stoic way teaches us to act with virtue, and virtue includes recognizing the humanity in others, even when it's difficult or uncomfortable. True wisdom is not just about protecting ourselves from discomfort. It's about understanding that our actions have the power to influence others. Compassionate responses elevate our emotional intelligence and allow us to contribute positively to the lives of those around us, creating a ripple effect of kindness and respect that ultimately leads to greater happiness for everyone involved. Number 5. Understanding the impact on both parties. When faced with rejection, it's easy to think only of how it affects us personally. Our feelings of discomfort, our desire to protect ourselves, and our need for emotional space. The truth is, rejection doesn't just affect you. It also profoundly impacts the other person involved. In fact, the way we handle rejection can determine whether the emotional damage is fleeting or prolonged. For the person on the receiving end of rejection, silence can amplify the pain. They are left with unanswered questions, feelings of confusion, and a sense of abandonment. What you may see as your own personal emotional barrier to cope with the situation can come across to them as an emotional wall. leaving them isolated in their vulnerability. Silence, though it feels like protection, is often perceived as punishment by the other party. The reality is that rejection, while difficult, can be a moment of growth and transformation. When handled with care and respect, both parties can move on from the experience stronger and wiser. The other person, despite feeling hurt, can learn from the experience, develop resilience, and gain clarity. Yet, if silence prevails, they might remain in limbo, unsure of where they stand, questioning their worth, and carrying that emotional weight for far longer than necessary. We must also reflect on how our responses affect us as well. As individuals seeking a life of happiness and wisdom, we can grow by recognizing our shared humanity with others. Responding with clarity and compassion is a powerful choice that promotes emotional balance and integrity in all relationships. The truth is, rejection, when handled with thoughtfulness, can open the door to healing, understanding, and ultimately, mutual growth. Both sides can emerge from the experience stronger and more connected to the truth of their own worth. Number 6. Self-control and emotional wisdom. One of the core principles of living a wise and happy life is emotional self-control. It's easy to react impulsively when faced with rejection, to shut down or to lash out. But true emotional wisdom doesn't lie in suppressing or ignoring our feelings, it lies in managing them with intentionality and clarity. When rejection occurs, we often feel a rush of emotions. Anger, sadness, frustration, or disappointment. These emotions are completely natural, but how we handle them can drastically affect the outcome, not just for ourselves, but for the other person as well. Self-control is not about denying your feelings, but about choosing how to respond to them. The Stoic mindset teaches us that while we cannot always control external circumstances, we do have control over our reactions. When faced with rejection, instead of retreating into silence or reacting with harsh words, we have the power to pause, reflect, and respond with grace and maturity. This is where emotional wisdom plays a critical role. Responding from a place of calm and understanding, even in the face of emotional pain, allows us to maintain our inner peace while also respecting the feelings of the other person. This ability to control your emotional responses will not only help you deal with rejection more effectively, but also cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. When we act with emotional wisdom, we send a message that we are in control of our own happiness, regardless of external circumstances. We stop letting negative experiences dictate our emotional state and begin to operate from a place of strength and resilience. Emotional wisdom is the key to happiness in difficult situations. By responding thoughtfully, you empower yourself to move forward with confidence, knowing that your peace is not dependent on others' actions, but on how you choose to react to them. Number 7. Restoring balance through thoughtful action. Life is a delicate balance between our internal peace and our interactions with the world around us. When we experience rejection, it's easy to retreat into silence, believing that doing nothing will protect us. But silence is not always the answer. In fact, when we don't take thoughtful action, we may unintentionally disrupt the emotional balance, not only for ourselves but for the other person as well. Restoring that balance requires a conscious effort to respond in a way that aligns with both your values and your emotional well-being. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for how we react to life's challenges, and the way we handle rejection is no different. When faced with rejection, we are presented with a choice. We can either let the situation dictate our emotions, or we can choose a more balanced, intentional response. Thoughtful action involves assessing the situation calmly, recognizing the other person's emotions, and responding in a way that is compassionate and respectful. It is in this act of conscious response, not reaction, that we regain control over our emotional state and maintain balance. When we respond with empathy, understanding, and clarity, we restore harmony not just within ourselves, but in the relationship as well. This thoughtful approach creates space for both parties to heal and move forward without carrying the weight of unresolved emotions. Remember, balance is key to happiness. When we act with integrity and thoughtfulness, we prevent the situation from escalating, and we avoid adding unnecessary pain to the experience. In the end, thoughtful action allows us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom, peace, and emotional strength. It is a reminder that our responses shape our reality, and that by choosing balance, we have the power to turn even the most painful experiences into opportunities for growth and deeper connection. The power of our responses to rejection. Let's remember that silence, while a natural impulse, can often cause more harm than healing. Through emotional wisdom, self-control, and thoughtful action, we can turn difficult moments into opportunities for growth and deeper understanding. By responding with compassion and clarity, we not only protect our own happiness, but also show respect for others' feelings. May you move forward with greater awareness, emotional strength, and a commitment to building more meaningful connections. Thank you for your time, and I wish you peace, wisdom, and happiness in all your endeavors.